What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your daily news report for Wednesday, April 27th. So we got a bunch of stuff that we have to get to. First, I want to talk about a little bit of the stimulus update and the truth about the bills that we could potentially see. I know a lot of people have kind of misconstrued the information that is out there. Yesterday, I got a lot of questions regarding when is the next check coming. I want to address what's going on there because honestly, I don't know if there's another check coming, okay? I just want to be upfront, want to be honest with you guys. I do want to talk about a $1,000 farm worker check, though. That would actually come out of one specific state. I want to address what's being discussed there and why this is potentially good for every other state. So make sure you stick around for that. Also going to talk about what Dr. Anthony Fauci just said regarding whether the United States is still in a pandemic or not. So big news there, and all that just came out this morning. So let's get right down to it. And all I ask, just take 2 seconds, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Now, over the past couple of days, we have gotten multiple reports about Senator Joe Manchin and how he's starting to discuss a climate bill that would likely include parts of the Build Back Better Act. Now, keyword is likely. Now, I want to be very clear on one thing. Okay, they're still in the very early stages of the discussion. No deal is imminent. Okay, just keep that in mind that things could completely get blown up. That's exactly what happened back in December, where Democrats had a bill. They knew, okay, we have the numbers. They went to try to vote, and they said no. It just wasn't going to work. Then Senator Joe Manchin, he came out and said, well, I have a deal. Here you go. Gave it to President Biden, and President Biden said no deal. Then in January, when President Biden wanted to pass this, Senator Joe Manchin said no deal. That deal is now off the table. So that's what could happen. And I say this because Senator Joe Manchin, he met with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer just yesterday, and they didn't come out of the meeting with a deal. What the reports have indicated is that Democrats are even more cautious now about talking about what could potentially be in some of these plans, could be in the negotiations, because it could derail the entire thing. They also worry that not taking Senator Joe Manchin's exact plan would stop any negotiations from happening. This means that there would be no additional social spending that would be taking place. Now, when Senator Joe Manchin was asked about this meeting, this is what he had to say, and I quote, "There's nothing formal. There's no false hopes here. There's nothing. As far as Build Back Better, there's no talk about any of that. Just saying, how do we get a handle on inflation?" And again, I've been saying this for the past few months, is that Democrats' big worry is inflation. That's their worry. It's inflation, trying to avoid a recession, right? That's Democrats' worry, because what Democrats are really worried about is if we continue to see inflation run up, if we do see the Fed push us into a recession, which again, let me just break this down to you. If we dip into a recession, or the Fed pushes hard enough to push us into a recession before the end of this year, guess what? Democrats are going to lose the House and the Senate. So, one expert simply asked, is President Biden putting pressure on the Federal Reserve to not raise rates as quickly? We will continue to see inflation, but we will not dip into a recession until potentially 2023 because he doesn't want to see Democrats lose the majority in the House or the Senate? It's quite possible. It honestly is. And until recently, I didn't even think of that. But it's true. President Biden could be putting pressure on Jerome Powell to try to make sure that we do not dip into a recession before the election. Because if we did, that would hurt Democrats' chances. Now, I also think that what Senator Elizabeth Warren said just recently shows where Democrats are currently at. Because here's what she had to say. As Democrats, we need to deliver. We need to hit costs head on. And we have the power to do that. We've got less than 200 days left, though. And instead of looking backwards, let's look forward. Let's get done what we can get done for the American people who elected us and for the American people who are counting on us. Now, it's true. Democrats don't have much time left. Okay? Democrats can't keep looking backwards and talking about what they got done last year. They need to discuss what's going to happen. Voters care about what's going to get done moving forward. That's what people care about. And one of the big things, and I addressed this yesterday, I've addressed this probably over the past, several times over the past couple of weeks, is student loan forgiveness. Here's what we learned yesterday. Yesterday, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus stated that in a closed-door meeting with President Biden said he would forgive at least $10,000, but likely nothing more than $10,000. He's not going to go up to $50,000. They also stated that President Biden is still very quiet about who could potentially get this student loan forgiveness, but something will happen before the August 31st expiration of the student loan payment pause. Okay? So just keep that in mind. There's still a lot of discussions. Something will happen, but we might not know anything until potentially August. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's address this $1,000 farm worker check. Which state is this going to go to? Who is proposing this? Well, I want to talk about this because this new proposal was actually introduced in California. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of farm workers in California, and due to climate conditions, some are being negatively impacted. Personally, I can tell you just here in the state of Washington, where I live, there's a lot of farm workers that work in the orchards, right? And so what we have seen over the past really few weeks is the weather kind of got better, and we had good weather, and then it started to snow, and then it got really cold, and then we saw rain and wind, and right, it's been troubling because all these different climate changes impact our fields, impact the orchards, right? Impact crops and farm workers. Now, the purpose behind this $1,000 per month check for 3 years is to help out farm workers that have been heavily impacted by the worsening drought in California and inflation across the board. This $1,000 would help these workers pay for their outside costs. Okay? Now, I don't bring this up because this is guaranteed to pass. Okay? I bring this up due to the fact that many states have said how anybody that is part of our food system is critical to our future. Okay? Now, this would include people in shipping, grocery store workers, farm workers, and so on. But the reason why I think this is so important is because with all the shortages that we are seeing, multiple experts anticipate states are soon going to provide an incentive for people to work in certain fields. For instance, let's say the state is seeing a shortage of transportation workers. They'd provide an incentive. Okay, I'll give you $1,000 or $500 for every month that you are employed as a transportation worker, right? I'll give you $1,000 check if you work in a grocery store. That's what we could see. Okay, so just keep that in mind, is that states have a lot of money left. They need to give it out. Well, how are they going to do that? Still prop up the economy. Don't let it overheat, but at the same time, fill in the gaps. It could be very targeted. So, according to multiple experts, this is something they are looking at because this would help multiple states. Right? So, if you have questions on that, let me know down in the comment section below. Now, let's get to the COVID update, because I want to share with you what Dr. Anthony Fauci said just yesterday about the U.S. and whether or not we are out of this pandemic. Because according to Dr. Fauci, when he was asked, how close are we to the end of this pandemic, he made it very clear, and I quote, "We don't have 900,000 new infections a day and tens and tens and tens of thousands of hospitalizations and thousands of deaths. We are at a low level right now, so if you're saying we are out of the pandemic phase in this country, we are." He also said that the U.S. will need to continue to vaccinate people for potentially years in order to keep infections as pretty much low as possible. And he said, and I quote, "That might be every year. That might be longer in order to keep the level low, but right now, we are not in the pandemic phase in this country." He also went on to say, "But as for the rest of the world, there is no doubt this pandemic is still ongoing." So, he's made it very clear. We are out of this pandemic here in the US. However, for the rest of the world, they are not. So, it's very important to understand where things are headed. Technically, I guess we're out of this pandemic. I think there's still some issues going on, but we will eventually be all the way out very soon. My guess is probably over the summer. Once we are out of this pandemic and things start to get back to normal, this would mean hopefully inflation starts coming down. We are not worried about a recession. The stock market it's not extremely volatile like it is right now, right? Workers are heading back to work, right? Children are back at schools. People are not working really remotely anymore. Everything is just back to normal. Now, that might not happen this summer. That might happen in about a year. So just understand, we are out of this pandemic, but there's still a long ways to go. All right. So just wanted to fill you on what's currently happening right now. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.